My name is Margaret, and I'm 63 years old. I've learned that life has a way of showing you the truth when you least expect it. It was a Thursday afternoon in autumn. The leaves were turning golden, and there was a crispness in the air that reminded me of new beginnings. I had just finished my shift at the community library where I'd worked for 30 years. As I walked through the parking lot toward the bus stop, I noticed something that made my heart skip. There, parked near the oak tree, was my son Daniel's car. That blue sedan I'd helped him pick out 2 years ago when he got his promotion at the accounting firm. Daniel was 35 now, married to Lisa for 7 years. They lived across town in a nice neighborhood with their golden retriever. I felt a sudden warmth in my chest. How wonderful, I thought. Daniel must have come to surprise me. Maybe take his old mother out for coffee like we used to do before life got so busy. Then an idea came to me. Why not surprise him instead? I looked around. Daniel was nowhere in sight. The car was locked, but I still had the spare key he'd given me for emergencies. My hands trembled slightly as I unlocked the door. The excitement of surprising my boy made me feel young again. I slipped into the back seat and crouched down low, pulling Daniel's jacket over myself. I could smell his cologne, the same one his father used to wear. My late husband Robert would have laughed at this. He always said I had a playful spirit. I waited there in the quiet, listening to my own breathing. Minutes passed. 5, then 10. My knees started to ache a little, but I didn't mind. The anticipation was delicious. Finally, I heard footsteps approaching. 2 sets of footsteps. The car doors opened. I held my breath, ready to pop up and shout surprise. But then I heard Daniel's voice, and something in his tone made me freeze. "We only have a few minutes," he said. His voice sounded different. Nervous. Almost guilty. "I know," a woman's voice replied. But it wasn't Lisa's voice. My heart began to pound. "I can't keep doing this, Daniel," the woman continued. "It's been 8 months. When are you going to tell her?" I felt my whole body go cold. "Sarah, please," Daniel said. "It's complicated. Lisa and we've been together since college. Her whole family is connected to mine. The business partnerships. Everything. Sarah." I knew that name. Sarah Chun worked in Daniel's office. I'd met her at the company Christmas party last year. She was young, maybe 28. With kind eyes and a gentle smile. She told me about her parents who had immigrated from Taiwan, how much she admired people like me who dedicated their lives to community service. "So what am I?" Sarah's voice cracked. "Just someone you hide in parking lots?" "No," Daniel said quickly. "You're everything to me. You make me feel alive again. Lisa and we're more like roommates now. We haven't been truly happy in years. I wanted to move, to reveal myself, to stop this nightmare. But I couldn't. I was paralyzed, hidden under the jacket, listening to my son's betrayal unfold. My mom would be so disappointed in me," Daniel said softly. "She raised me better than this. She and my dad, they had the real thing. 40 years of genuine love before he passed. Every day I feel like I'm betraying everything they taught me." Tears were streaming down my face now, soaking into the jacket. "Then maybe that's your answer," Sarah whispered. "Maybe you need to be honest with Lisa. With yourself, with your mom." There was a long silence. "Margaret is the strongest woman I know," Sarah continued. "When I met her at that Christmas party, she told me something I'll never forget. She said that life is too short for half-truths and half-lived lives. She said her husband used to tell her that courage isn't about never being afraid. It's about doing the right thing even when you're terrified." I remembered that conversation. I remembered Sarah's earnest face as we talked by the punch. "Oh, I can't lose her respect," Daniel said, his voice breaking. "After Dad died, she was so strong for me. She worked 2 jobs to put me through college. Every sacrifice she made. And this is how I repay her." "Then stop repaying her with lies," Sarah said gently. "She deserves the truth." "Lisa deserves the truth. And so do I." Another silence. "Longer this time. You're right," Daniel finally said. "I'll tell Lisa this weekend. I'll ask for a divorce. It'll be messy, but it's the right thing to do. And then I'll tell my mom. I just hope she can forgive me. If she loves you," Sarah said, "she will." Not right away maybe, but eventually. They sat there a moment longer. I heard Sarah crying softly. I heard Daniel comfort her. Then the doors opened, and they got out. I stayed in that back seat for another 20 minutes, letting the tears fall, letting my heart break and reassemble itself into something new. When I finally emerged, the parking lot was empty. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. I stood beside Daniel's car, spare key in my trembling hand. I thought about my Robert, about all those years of honest love, about the wisdom he'd shared with me. People make mistakes, Maggie, he used to say. The measure of a person isn't in their perfection. It's in what they do after they stumble. I thought about Daniel as a little boy, how he'd cry when he accidentally hurt someone's feelings, how he'd inherited his father's conscience, that deep sense of right and wrong that made living with mistakes almost unbearable. I thought about Lisa, who I'd always sensed wasn't quite right for Daniel, though I'd never said anything. Some things children must discover for themselves. And I thought about Sarah, who had reminded my son of the values I'd raised him with 3 days later. I was at home when Daniel called. His voice was shaky. "Mom, can I come over? I need to talk to you about something." "Of course, sweetheart," I said when he arrived. His eyes were red. He'd been crying. He sat on my couch, in the same spot where his father used to sit, and he told me everything. He told me about feeling trapped in a marriage that had lost its spark, about meeting Sarah and feeling truly seen for the first time in years, about the guilt that ate at him every day, about finally telling Lisa the truth that morning, about how she'd cried but also admitted she'd felt it too, that distance between them. He told me he'd asked for a divorce, that Lisa had agreed, that they'd both been holding on to something that had ended long ago, too afraid to admit it. And then he looked at me with those eyes so much like his father's, and he said, "Mom, I'm so sorry. I failed you. I failed Dad's memory. I became everything you taught me not to be." I let him finish. I let him pour out all his guilt and shame. And then I took his hands in mine. "Daniel," I said slowly, "do you remember what your father used to say about courage?" He nodded, tears streaming down his face. "Courage isn't about never being afraid or never making mistakes," I continued. "It's about facing the truth even when it's terrifying. You've been dishonest, yes. You've hurt people, but you've also chosen to stop the lie. That takes courage. But I had an affair, Mom, while I was still married." "Yes," I said simply. "You did. And that was wrong. You hurt Lisa. You hurt Sarah. You hurt yourself. These are real consequences you'll have to live with and learn from." He hung his head. "But Daniel," I said, lifting his chin gently, "I've lived 63 years on this earth. I've seen good people do bad things. I've seen bad people do good things. Life isn't a simple story with clear villains and heroes. It's messy and complicated, and sometimes we find ourselves in situations where there are no perfect choices, only difficult ones. How can you not hate me?" He whispered. "Because you're my son," I said. "Because I see you struggling to do better. Because the fact that you feel this guilt tells me that your father and I did raise you right. A truly selfish person wouldn't care about the pain they'd caused." We sat together in silence for a while. I made him tea, the same chamomile blend his father loved. We talked for hours. About his marriage, about Sarah, about the long road ahead. "Are you going to pursue things with Sarah?" I asked. "Not right away," he said. "I need time. Lisa and I need to handle the divorce properly. Sarah understands. She says she'll wait, but I told her she shouldn't feel obligated. I need to learn how to be honest with myself first." I nodded. This was wise. Over the following months, I watched my son navigate one of life's most difficult transitions. The divorce was painful but civil. Lisa moved to settle for a new job, and they both seemed relieved to finally be honest about what hadn't been working. Daniel went to therapy. He worked on himself, and slowly, carefully, he built a relationship with Sarah based on honesty this time. I got to know Sarah better. She'd visit me at the library, and we'd talk about books and life and second chances. She told me about her own parents' struggles, about immigrating with nothing and building a life through sheer determination. She told me how much she admired that in me, the strength to keep going after loss. "I never told you this," I said to her one afternoon, "but I know you're good for Daniel. You remind him to be the person he wants to be." She smiled, but there was something sad in it. "I just wish we'd met under different circumstances." "Me too," I admitted. "But we can't choose the circumstances, only how we move forward from them." 2 years have passed now. Daniel and Sarah are engaged. They're planning a small wedding next spring. Lisa sent them a card wishing them well, which I thought showed remarkable grace. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that afternoon in the backseat of Daniel's car, about the shock and heartbreak of discovering my son's secret, about the choice I made to listen, to wait, to understand before judging. If I'd revealed myself in that moment, everything would have been different. There would have been anger, shame, defensive words thrown around. The truth might have come out the same way, but it would have been tainted with confrontation rather than emerging from Daniel's own conscience. Robert used to tell me that wisdom isn't about always knowing what to do. It's about knowing when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to listen, when to judge and when to forgive. I miss him terribly, but I feel him in the choices I make, in the values I still hold, in the way I try to love my son through his imperfections. Life isn't a fairy tale. People aren't perfect. Love doesn't always look the way we expect it to. But kindness, honesty, and the courage to do better, these things matter. These things endure. My son made mistakes. He caused pain. But he also found the strength to face his truth and try to make things right. And in the end, isn't that what we all hope to do? To stumble, to learn, to grow, and to be loved anyway. This is what I've learned in my 63 years. We're all hiding in back seats sometimes, learning truths we weren't meant to hear. The question is what we do with those truths. Do we use them as weapons, or do we use them as bridges to understanding? I chose the bridge. And today, watching Daniel and Sarah together, seeing them build something honest and real, I know it was the right choice.